And all we have to do is look outside and see. It is lasting forever. Until, like he said, as long as the earth remains, until the earth comes to an end. Verse 7.
And there is none that calleth upon thy name, that stirreth up himself to take hold of thee. For thou hast hid thy face from us, and hast consumed us because of our iniquities.
So it's our fault. If we're separated from Yahweh, if things aren't going right with us, it's our fault. Yahweh said there's none that kara upon his shem, that stirs up himself. We have to stir up ourselves to take hold of the truth that Yahweh offers us. We don't need to be looking around to see how many people, this is not a democracy, how many people agree with what Yahweh said. And that's where most people miss the boat. They're looking to see where the majority of the people are going. The majority of people are going to the lake of fire. There's none that kara upon Yahweh's shem, that stirs up himself to take hold of Yahweh. No matter how few people agree with it, once you see it, once we see it from his word, we are required to stand on it, because that's the truth. And it said, because of this, Yahweh's hid his face from people. And he's allowed them to be consumed. Why? Because they love darkness rather than light. They like what they made up better than the truth of what Yahweh actually did. Let's go to YHWH 40. So the location at which Yahweh instituted time has everything to do with us understanding why he revealed to us that days 1, 2, and 3 were completed without the creation of the sun. Yahweh revealed it to us for a reason. Days 1, 2, and 3 were created without the sun. So where was the creation location where Yahweh instituted time? Where was that? Through research, Yahweh has shown us that it was at the equator. YHWH, or is Isaiah 40, and we're just going to read one verse, verse 22. And it reads,
It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in.
Now, the circle of the earth, we're talking about Yahweh sitting on the circle of the earth. The circle of the earth is nothing but the equator. It is an imaginary line that goes through the center of the earth, by which scientists have measured how far the planets are from the earth, how far the sun is from the earth. They've made longitudinal lines and latitudinal lines. They've measured the distances between countries. They've used the equator to do all these things. This imaginary line that's around the earth. And it's a perfect 360 degrees, and they've got it divided in sections. You get any globe or look at any map, and then you can see that they took this circle of the earth, the equator, and it says that Yahweh is sitting on it. This was the location that Yahweh first created and instituted time. So when you're reading in Bereshit, Genesis, the first chapter, you're reading first and second chapter, you're reading about the equator. It's a little known fact that at the creation location, at the equator, the evening still perfectly coincides with sundown and sunset. And the morning still perfectly coincides with sunrise. They both occur the evening at the equator or sundown and sunset at 6 p.m. And the morning or sunrise at 6 a.m. every single day. It hasn't changed. Every single day. At the creation location, the evening and morning consist of 12 hours of darkness and 12 hours of light, like clockwork. 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., 24-hour perfect days. Now I have some articles here that I'm just going to read from, and then we're going to get back to the scripture. On the web, these people from Agape Bible Study, the title of this is The Hours of Prayer for the Old Covenant Church in the 1st century A.D. It says, the next day began at sundown or about 6 p.m. Now this is a Sunday church. And it's talking about sundown at 6 p.m. See, what happened was people revised the dictionaries and then people decided, oh, sundown means sundown. No, you got to see what Yahweh is talking about when he instituted time. This article is The Wisdom of Elohim, and it says that the Sabbath is from sundown, in parentheses, 6 p.m. on Friday to sundown, in parentheses, 6 p.m. on Saturday. And it's a time for rest. So that's the wisdom of Elohim. So that's two witnesses. Here in this article, and this is from First Tabernacle Fellowship, a Hebraic Messianic Ministry in Sacramento, California. And they say that service order on October 9th begins at 6 p.m. and our holy convocation ends. So during that year, that was Yom Kippur. And it said it ends at 6 p.m. Why? Because they understood 6 to 6. They understood the institution of time. Here we go with our fourth witness. This is from Jewish time divisions in the 1st century A.D. The 12th hour, 6 p.m., equals sundown. And it's got all the hours going down. And I'll probably make you a copy of this chart. But the 12th hour, 6 p.m., sundown. They got the first hour, dawn, 6 a.m. or morning. Here's our fifth witness. This is from the chronology of the Passover week. The biblical day equals sundown to sundown, 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. And this chart is from the book Coming Out of Egypt, Volume 1, The Journey Out of Idolatry Begins. Here is our sixth witness. And this is from a church newsletter. And this is a Sunday pastor again. And this is Pastor Rob Purdy. And he's talking about Good Friday. Mm-hmm. But then he goes on. He says, Good Friday is on the 6th of April. Passover also begins that night. He says, the biblical day is from sundown to sundown. He puts in parentheses, 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. The day is split up into two parts. The evening runs from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So where did this guy get this stuff from? He just had an open mind. And Yahweh showed him something, all these people, where when you let Yahweh show you, then you'll see it too. Mm-hmm. Said, the evening runs from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and the morning runs from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The evening part of this 24-hour period is between noon to 6 p.m. Therefore, between the evenings is 3 p.m., exactly the time that Jesus died on the cross. So we're going to look at that later. Here's another witness. And the name of this article is Easter Chronology. It says, the confusion over the day that Christ was crucified is due to two things: tradition and ignorance of the scriptures. He says, remember, our time makes any day run from 12 midnight to 12 midnight. Where do they get that from? 24 hours. They know there's a time. That's how Yahweh instituted it. That's what the Romans did. They made it midnight to midnight. And where did they get that from? They copied it off of Yahweh. He says, but the Jewish day is from sunset, in parentheses, here we go again, 6 p.m. till sunset. Here we go again, 6 p.m. And we have another witness. This is from www.timegenie.com. This article says it's about fascinating time zones and understanding time zones. Along the equator, or close to the equator, sunrise and sunset occur at approximately the same time throughout the whole year. Yahweh's time hasn't changed. We changed. Yahweh's going to show us. Man got kicked out of the garden. It says, a country near the equator will generally have this time, 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. throughout the whole year. It doesn't change. They don't do this crazy thing like some people do, flip back and forth with daylight savings time.